In the vast her message was clear. The Massagetae would not be subjugated. Cyrus, his ego bruised, and his strategic ambitions thwarted, was enraged by her rejection. His attempt at a bloodless conquest had failed, leaving only one alternative. He immediately began to amass his vast army for a full-scale invasion of the Massagetae lands. His forces constructed a bridge of boats across the river Araxes, the natural border of Tomyris' kingdom. Tomyris sent another message, a challenge born of nomadic honor. She advised Cyrus to remain in his own land and be content with his vast empire. She proposed that if he was determined to fight, he should cross into her lands, where they would meet him. Alternatively, she offered to cross into his territory to meet his army there. Cyrus convened his war council to debate the queen's bold proposition. His advisors, including the exiled Greek king Croesus, urged caution. Croesus warned that fighting on enemy soil was a great risk, as defeat would mean the complete loss of his army. He suggested a stratagem instead of a direct confrontation. The plan was to lure a portion of the Massagetae army into a trap. Cyrus, ignoring the honorable choice, embraced this cunning and treacherous idea. He ordered his army to cross the river Araxes and advance a short distance into Tomyris' territory. There, they set up a camp, deliberately making it appear vulnerable. The Persians prepared a magnificent feast within the camp. They filled countless wineskins with strong, undiluted wine, a drink the Massagetae were unaccustomed to. Following the plan, Cyrus left behind his weakest soldiers to guard the tempting camp. He then withdrew the main body of his elite forces, hiding them in the nearby hills. As anticipated, a Massagetae detachment soon discovered the seemingly abandoned camp. This force was led by Spartapizes, the son of Queen Tomyris. He was a young and eager commander, keen to prove his worth in battle. The Massagetae warriors easily overpowered the small Persian contingent left behind. Seeing the abandoned feast and the vast quantities of wine, they believed they had won a great victory. Unfamiliar with the potent effects of undiluted wine, they began to celebrate their easy triumph. The warriors drank deeply, their caution She had made a vow, and now it was time to fulfill it. She had a wineskin brought to her, one not filled with wine, but with human blood. She ordered the head of Cyrus to be severed from his body. Taking the head, she plunged it deep into the skin filled with blood. She then spoke to the lifeless head, her voice echoing across the silent battlefield. "I warned you that I would quench your thirst for blood," she declared. "Now, you have your fill." Mendozabi. Tomyris had kept her oath, a terrifying testament to a mother's rage. The defeat and death of Cyrus the Great sent shockwaves through his empire. Never before had the Achaemenid army suffered such a catastrophic loss. The Massagetae, under the rule of their warrior queen, had preserved their freedom. Queen Tomyris would be remembered forever as the monarch who humbled an empire. The story became a legend, a cautionary tale for ambitious kings. It spoke of the danger of underestimating a determined opponent. It was a stark reminder that honor, courage, and a mother's love could be forces more powerful than any army.